Hey everyone, to whom it cyberly concerns. I'm coming to you from Playa del Carmen, Mexico, this time round. The last one was in Medellin. It's about 2 in the morning. I just got in from a late dinner. Things are open most places. Here, as you can see, it's pretty dead at the street, but you take what you can get. Speaking of taking what you can get, life, right? You're given it, so take it. We take it for granted, unfortunately. That's the wrong kind of taking when it comes to life. Don't take life for granted. Take life as it is, not for granted. We got to change up that phrase there, because it's precious. We want it to be as best as it can be to each and every one of us individually. We want it to be best. We want it to be flawless free. We want it to be problem free. It's not like that, of course, as most of you probably already know. How much you've delved into it is, of course, a different topic altogether. If you ever unpacked what that's about, what that means, life's kind of like a pool. We'd like our pool to be pristine and clear and just beautiful, but life is messy. The wind blows, and leaves fall in it, dirt and trash and bits of debris end up in our pool, and we have to clean it up. I guess that's why pool boys exist, right? Our lives can be like a pool. We'd like them full of water. We want to be able to enjoy the pool, our life, but things get into the pool and it gets messy. It complicates our lives. We call it that anyway, but it does. Our life gets messy. And the pool boy, what would the pool boy be a metaphor for? Who comes around and cleans our pool, I'll think about that for a bit. But that would be a realization that I've made in a deeper sense. Living back in the States, my life is pretty uneventful, So I take it for granted because nothing really bad happens, though it can. Especially when it happens to yourself. When it does happen, you almost turn an ear, you turn your cheek, you don't want to hear it. You don't want that leaf to get into your pool, right? You don't want that wind to blow leaves into your pool. Sometimes that kind of wind, we'll call it the news, affects us. Sometimes it doesn't. But we do our best to avoid it. Those hypnotized by it don't even know they're being polluted. It's like having that neighbor that just throws shit over your fence and it gets into your pool and you don't know where it came from. It's kind of like that. That's what the news is. It's that awful neighbor who just chunks shit over his yard into yours. That's what the news is. It's a bad neighbor, always in your ear, always listening, always wanting to know what you're doing, like the news. In Mexico, however, I think I see far more problems to the average person. They're working harder. They're struggling. They're trying to make it. We're trying to make it through. The U.S. not so much. It's pretty simple. My good friend calls it it's pussy life. It's a good term. It's a funny one. Pussy life. Here they don't know what life is. They're here struggling. They're working hard. Their pool is constantly messy. Their life is even messier. But you know what? They're in good spirits. They tend to just be in good spirits regardless, no matter how dirty that pool gets. They're still in good spirits, and I think that's what I'm taking away from it. They don't care that the pool is pristine, as long as they're able to enjoy the pool, their life, even if life comes with bits of messiness. And I think that's where I come back around to earlier when I said, don't take life for granted. Take it as it is. And I think people in countries like this are doing exactly that. They're taking it as it is and making the best of it. We want it to all be perfect, as much as anybody else would, but it may not always be the case. So that was one of the realizations I had since having been in Mexico. If I haven't told you if I did or not, I'm in Playa del Carmen in Mexico, in the Yucatán Peninsula. Also known as the Mayan Riviera, which is kind of even more exotic, I think. I don't know. I think the other realization is like an addendum to take life as it is. Don't take it for granted, because it's also very short. It's also very short. That pool will dry up. You know, it will be emptied at one day. When you move out, when you retire, whatever it is, it will empty out. Life is short. Enjoy it. Again, take another aspect of taking life, not just as it is, but taking it and making something of it, because time is relatively short. I just celebrated a birthday. It's a mile marker. You know where you're at in a certain timeline that you think you're given. This is why you cannot take life for granted. I'm only this age. I got plenty of time. No, you may not. You may not. You might have an amazing 30th birthday. Cliff diving. Some exotic place in the Philippines. You could die and not make it to the 31st and first day. But thankfully, those people are taking life and doing what they want with it and making the best they can. But make just wise decisions in that endeavor, I should say. As far as the traveling comes, this is, my umpteenth time in Mexico, and I've never made a freaking video. I think I should do more. I was prompted last time in Medellin, and that one time in Colombia, and wherever else I was that I've not really posted. I should be posting these things. I might be interested to hear some feedback from people who see them. I'm your average guy from the U.S. Back to my life issue, not mine necessarily, but all of ours. A friend here in Playa del Carmen was assaulted in a cab with a knife. The cab was in on it, and that sort of thing. So, but you know what he was doing prior to that? Having a good time. Life can come with that. Those kinds of little things that arise are like small instances of a pool accident. Your floaty slipped off and you're drowning and nobody knows. But you swim to the shore anyway. Speaking of which, quick beach tip. If you're ever caught in an undercurrent and you're far out and you can't make it back because the current keeps pulling you back, don't swim towards the coast. Swim parallel to it until you stop feeling that pull, and then swim to the coast. Lifeguard told me. I was like, okay, that makes sense. Anyways, back to the traveling. There's so much to see, and I feel like I've just looked at the iceberg. I haven't even scratched it. I'm just looking at it like, whoa. It's as unknowing and as awesome and as grand as the internet. There's so much out there. Of course, you can travel the internet much faster, not across the world, but that's what's going on. So I had a birthday here, amazing time, and I know that I would have not had this kind of a time back home. I keep wanting to say that I can't understand why there isn't the same energy back home as there is anywhere else that I've been. I might be partial to it, but I think I have enough data points to say, you know what, this could be more frequent. This could be more consistent. This could be a thing, and I'm finding that it is a thing. I'm finding not a thing over there, nada que ver type of thing. It's really amazing. I'm kind of going solo at this point, or at least this time around. My best friend isn't with me, which is understandable. I sometimes like getting away alone. It really makes you think. You have a lot of time to think. You have a lot of time with yourself. Back home, you're distracted. People don't know how to be alone with themselves. And I don't mean alone in just a physical place and no one around to see. What I mean alone is you are pulled out of your home court advantage from anyone you might know, from any comforts, from any normal patterns and normal routines, all that is taken away. This is why home court advantage is maybe not an advantage. It works in sports, and I still don't even get it. A field is a field. A home court advantage is because you have fans. Really, that's gonna do anything? It's still up to you to make that touchdown, and it's up to the fans. So I think there's a misnomer when it comes to home court advantage. In fact, while it might be a misnomer, it's a placebo effect, I think, really. In fact, ripping or removing the home court, we'll call it home court pseudo advantage, right? Home court pseudo advantage. That'll fly well with the NFL. If you remove your home court advantage from the normal thing that you're used to at home, and you travel, especially alone, you start to really find yourself alone. And I mean alone in the most deepest philosophical, introspective way possible. You ask yourself questions, and you don't even know the answers to them, and they can be relatively easy. But now that these questions have time to rise, you now have time to hear them because you weren't disturbed by the home court advantage. You have time to hear them, and you have time to hear other things. You have time to understand the questions that you're asking yourself, even if you're still shy of an answer. Understanding of a question is super important, not just the content of the question, the words used. What color is green? Well, I could point to you what it is, but do you know what it is? And that's for you to unpack. It's whatever you want it to be. But that's a simple question that I bring as an example, because people don't ask themselves that in their day-to-day monotony, if you will. And that's an amazing thing. They do say silence is golden. I think the golden part of that ancient phrase, if you will, is what you learn about yourself. You start to speak with yourself. Don't take it wrong, not talk to yourself, because then you look crazy, especially if you start answering yourself. You start to speak with who you thought you were and realize, oh man, I was talking to the wrong person. This person is a tandem program that was created through the normalcy and the patterns and the things programmed from the very beginning. Like I said, pull yourself away and you start to realize, oh my gosh, I have no idea who I am. I don't know what I want to do. I don't know what program I want. I don't know what I'm looking for. And that's the beauty of travel. You realize how much time you have to speak with yourself. And a lot of, I should say, golden moments come with that. Since being here, I've had a lot of time to be with myself, and the realizations may not be like awe-inspiring or Hollywood worthy of a movie, but that doesn't matter. What matters is what that means to you or me, whatever the realization is, and if you plan to apply that realization later, especially if you see that realization is something that is satisfying to you. You might like something you didn't like before. You might enjoy some new novelty you didn't realize you enjoyed. But in the normalcy of the whole thing, with the whole workday, there's just no time to even unpack who you are. In fact, back home, you're told to be X, Y, and Z, and A, B, C, D, and everything in between. You don't have a chance to question each of these things you're told to be. What is this? I never agreed to be this. Throw it out. When you travel, that's what I mean. You have a chance to unpack all the things that you've been told to be. And all these be programs come with a do execution file. I want you to be this because I want you to do this. And I think that's a huge realization that I've come to. We're told to be and do instead of just deciding for ourselves. I hope I'm clear enough, but what a novel concept. It's not even that hard to understand, but it isn't at all talked about. Especially after hanging out with a couple of J-dubs who are very close to me, and seeing more and more of these kinds of instances where people are told to be this because we want you to do this. And I'm talking basically about beliefs. But this is what beliefs are kind of made of, these two component issues, Be this to do this. Be a good citizen so that you can be a productive citizen. I mean, really, how necessary is that when we're being robbed and lied to? I think I was watching a YouTube video today about the stimulus report or stimulus package check. The dude was reporting, we're on our 5th one, and all this comment says, no, we should have had a 5th one. We're on our 2nd one, which still hasn't even materialized. So we're on our 2nd one, I think there was some comment that really caught my attention when it comes to be this, do that. One comment said something along the lines of, so it just goes to show you that all these different parties really don't care about the people. And then I decided to chime in because that kind of raised a little flag. I think we need to realize as people that without the populace, those parties would not be. The people hold the real power, but I think because of the distraction of the home court advantage, now you see the disadvantage here that I'm talking about. Because of that distraction at home with your normal routine and pattern, day-to-day life and minutia, when you tie that in with be this and do this, all of this is missed. The reality, the truths of what's really happening come into light, and you really start to see that a lot more. I think it's about 2:30 now. It's super quiet except for the occasional car that whizzes on by. But that's what I mean by traveling alone, the unpacking one does. I don't want to rant too much, but I think it's been about 15 minutes. But they just tend to inspire me, so I figured I'd record it before I forget it and go to sleep, and then, thought lost. So, moral is, don't be unless you want to be, and do all you can. Alright guys, have a good night. Bye from Mexico.